Okay, so up to here to the base and bound limits. So last week, last week mentioned to the Murboard Agav, the Yemi, the time of Priya, so the Mur brings another statement from the same name, just to reference. The time of Priya. Manatzbech, the letters Mem Nun Tzadi Pei Chof, the end of Mem. I mean, we'll see in a second, maybe this. But these letters, all these letters, they have all end of Mem, a soft Mem, and the Nun, and the Tzadik, and the Pei, and the Chof. So this was Tzoi from Amram. This was said by the Nevi'im. Then later, early Nevi'im, but at some point, the Nevi'im, the Gemara understood right now how it means they were Machadash's concept of end of Mem, and the Nun. Up until that point in time, a person wrote Mayim, will be both the same mem, mem, yod mem will be the same mem. They came about to the concept of having a mem, which is the end of mem. There's two ways of learning the Sigir, Shonim. Some Shonim hold that could be the Machadash Faket, the original mem, but we'll go with this Malach and Sigir over here, which implies the Machadash, the end of mem. We'll speak about that in a second. How was written the Fiat concept. Is that possible to say that? That Nubi is not allowed to machalish anything. And by making another sort of alphabet, therefore, if you write the Haftarah differently right now, it'll be Pusul. So we're not asking over here someone how are they able to machalish letters in the alphabet. We're asking that has a halachic ramifications. By making up new letters in the alphabet, if I write down the wrong letters, then I'm making a Pusul Haftarah, so the machalish it. The mem spoke from Chizah said that the mem and the samach benes ha'omdin because the letters of the lichas were from all sides, and therefore they were through and through. So if you have the nes was be able to see it from both sides from the right direction. So if you have mem this side and a nun this side, it looked even though it was all the way through, the nes was able to see it. But end of mem and end of samach going all the way through doesn't fall out. So that was a nest. So that sort of like that block in the middle was a nest. But that only makes sense if it was the endemem and the samach. Because if you don't have endemem and the samach, then the samach, if you don't have an endemem, that is, then it's not possible. Samach, no problem. Samach is fine. But endemem, if you have a regular mem, then there's no part for that because it's attached between the two legs. Zugme Mahava Takil was around. They didn't know. It was like either or up until that point in time. It was like sort of like whichever way you want. You want to have it this way, you can have endemem over here. You can want it time. Well, obviously it wasn't called endemem then, but it was like you could have had this type of mem, that type of mem. It wasn't sort of. It didn't make a difference. And also Tzayfim v'tekini psichen be'emtza teva v'stivim b'safa teva. And the Tzayfim, the Nevi'im came and they said, let the open letters, they be like the open mem be in the beginning of a teva, in the middle of a teva, and the closed mem will be at the end of a teva. Because the master, if up until that point in time, one was allowed to write the Haftarah any sort of way, sign with that type of mem, but by them coming to Mechadash and say, from now on, never write the Haftarah, the other way is Pusul, they're still being Mechadash something. So Me'elu Shachem was forgotten, we see them, and they reinstated over here. That's what happened. So the Bekitza, the Maskun Sasigya, that there was existent the endemem and the samach at some point in time. It was forgotten, and that seemingly people to do whatever they wanted, and then they were miyased again the way it was supposed to be from the beginning. So the obvious question of you would be is, how did they forget something like this? I mean, just open a Sefer Torah and just see what says Sefer Torah. It seems an almost impossible thing to forget. Like one day everybody woke up and they forgot how endemem looks like. The Tosfos is Miramis' question. The Tosfos throws in a line that Tosfos says it's over here. It's important Nevi'im that Aman was a Meluchim came and he burnt all Sefer Torahs in his time, and therefore there was no Sefer Torahs around, and then it was forgotten. People came to write it about it again. But the issue of the Shenim, it's only not in the Reis. I'm saying not the Reis. That's only you should make it's Messiah, but then if there wasn't, there wasn't, and then it was forgotten how to write them, and then they came back and they said how it's supposed to be done. But the problem with that is that, first of all, it's hard to believe that every Sefer Torah he burnt. I mean, there was not a single Sefer Torah left in the Toras Chaim Shul. He wasn't king that long, only 2 years, so it's a bit hard to think in 2 years everybody forgot. What about the Tefillin, Mezizis? There was no Zeicher. And what about the Luchas? They could have opened the Ur and checked the Luchas inside to see what the Luchas looked like. Therefore, it's hard to understand how they forgot over here, which many Rishonim are very difficult and don't understand what does it mean Tosfos saying over here. So, of course, how did they forget this? So many Rishonim go with a different halach. This is like Sig in Sanhedrin. this question is Ksav Ivri Ksav Ashirs. We know we write Ksav Ashir. Ksav Ashir is the block sort of alphabet that we have. But prior to that was Ksav Ivri, what's called more Phoenician alphabet, which you can still see in Israeli coins. They still have it over there. And the Gemara has a shot over there. What came first? Zichar Ksav Asher was only the name of it. Asher is from Assyria. They brought it up and they came from Assyria, so it was a later sort of alphabet. People mistaken. They think it was that it's an Assyrian alphabet. It's not an Assyrian alphabet. It's an Assyrian type of alphabet. The Assyrian alphabet is a square alphabet. And this is also square. So they took the same Ksav Ivri, old Ksav Ivri, and they squared it. They made it into square. That's what it means, Ksav Asher. But whatever the concept means, is there's a tzata saying the sig over there that in times the Moshe Rabbeinu was giving Ksav Asher. And that one makes sense with the Lichas as well, because the Ksav Ivri does not have any letters which have like a holes inside of it, like N and M. So that would be Ksav Asher. We said Luchus was giving Ksav Asher, Moshe Rabbeinu was giving Ksav Asher. Just even they felt that Ksav Asher is like a very, that sort of alphabet is very holy, very, B'fata we know that we are Darash Pikabud on every single alphabet and every letter. They have the more Shabbos, more says over there, each letter, why it's the shape it is. Ksav Asher has a lot of meaning to it over there. So therefore they sort of put that to the side and they use instead of the Ksav Ivri. They use Ksav Ivri instead of that, just for, a person like someone doesn't want to use something which is too heilig, use something which is more mundane. Throughout time, by using so long Ksav Ivri until they came back to using Ksav Ashirs, it was sort of forgotten. They went back to Ksav Ashirs to sort of, to decide which way the ending goes. This was out of use for hundreds of years, Ksav Ashirs, so then it makes sense how it was forgotten. It's still slightly problematic because why couldn't they still open the urn and check the lichas? Still over there. So this is trying to answer that this was only the first lichas like that. The second lichas was given Ksav Ivri. That sort of answers the question. They didn't have the first lichas, but they had to say that they did have it in broken pieces, but could be they couldn't see on that. So that sort of answers the sig over here, which the Chaim Shul over here, how it looks over here. And Tosis has a kasha, which is the biggest sig that, Vivata, nobody's not to something, so how were they able to change the alphabets from Ivri to Ashir, so Ashir to Ivri? Why is that okay, changing alphabets? So that's a separate kasha. So Umar Reb Yemi time Reb Chiva Nachas statement. Tag Mishal Torah Inklas Ager Amri. That Tag from Torah Inklas the Ger said this. Mipin he was makabel this from Reb Eliezer, Reb Yehoshia. He's a couple from his Reb Eliezer, Reb Yehoshia. Tag Mishal Neviim, Tag from Neviim. Yonis and Nezil, and Nezil said it over there. And he was makabel from Pichag is the Chai Malachi. Just we have an Achamushim Tag and Yonis and Achamush as well. The Pasha that's a mistake. It wasn't Tagim, maybe someone else called Yonis. But the Gemara says over here, Yonis only with Tagim in Nevi'im. So the Pashas, many of the Shainim say that what's called Tagim Yonis on the Chumash is not from Tagim Yonis. However, when the Shasi is Metagim, it's a Tagim Nevi'im, Shaitin Gemara, when is Dadeya, Eretz Yisrael, Abrameis Parasal, Abrameis Parasal. Means entire Yisrael, which is entire, that's a span, the width of it, it's the height of Yisrael, entire Yisrael shook. Yotze Baskel, and Baskel came out. Who is this that's Megala, my Soidis to Benahudam? I was always Megalit because making it a targum, you sort of open the Nevi'im. You're able to, some of it is more cryptic, and by targum it into more understood language, was able to, people have to see this is a Torah. And he says, "Good we deal I said, not for my honor, not for my father's honor. For your honor." Because by having unsure definitions, people have disagreements. So therefore, but not to be machlekes. Void dikish lagadas tagim shel ksivim. Also, you want to be megala the you want to be metagim the ksivim. Yotze baskav amre dayechu enough. By Talmud, mission the is by Kates Mashiach because Yosef Sefer Daniel is Miriam the Kates of Mashiach, and therefore you do not want to be if you're talking with that, it sort of would open up the Kates Mashiach. Although we do have Targum Aksivim, so it could be that he did write Targum Aksivim in some parts, not all of it, not in Daniel. Or others say that Yosef's on the road Targum Aksivim. Others say it was other Tanum wrote it, but the Zikr wasn't written by Yonis and It was written at later Tanum at some point in time. It was written the Targum Yonis, Targum on the Targum on Aksivim. Metagim shall tell you Inklas Ager Amri. Woman of Ikar, but overnomen of Chananel, Umarah, Baisha the Pusik. But Yikri says in the Pusik by Ezra when they came to Tzrul, but Yikri Besefer Torah Selakim, Beforish for Sim Seichel Yevini Bamikra. Is a practice of Yikri Besefer Torah Selakim Zamikra. He read from the Psikim, the Pushet, the Psikim. Beforish the Targum, he also read the Targum as well. With some seichel eli psikin, where to start and stop a pusik. The vini b'mikra eli psiske talmud, the nigan, the talmud that we have. Some say eli Messiris or the Messiris, mean to say chusa and mula in the Sefter. So you see over here that in Ezra, which is before Yonason, they had already the Targum. And Mepashas over here, the Targum was given the time Moshe Rabbeinu as well. Moshe Rabbeinu was given the Targum sort of, Tosha B'Ksav, and the Targum was given as well, sort of to explain the Sefer Torah in more easier language, what's for the Amoinam. So you see over here, before Inklis. So therefore you see over here that even before Inklis, it was already given the Targum. And why is we saying over here that this is from Inklis? So Meshachem was forgotten because of wisdom, because the ink was written Ksav Ramish. Ksav Ramish was not so much spoken at that point in time anymore. So people didn't use it as much as more. So as it came, he brought it back to the Aramaic. The Targum, it was given originally Ksav Ramish, originally that was spoken, and that was more forgotten. When the Targum English wrote this Targum the Torah, it did not shake. Or the Nevi'im and the Nevi'im is day it did shake. So the Reisim official was actually more explicit, and therefore the Targum didn't expose so much, didn't give so much. The Nevi'im, are some things which are Mefarshim, there's something which are more closed, and therefore by having Targum, it sort of opens it up a bit. An example over here where we find over here in the Nuvi, something which was sort of closed, and it was opened up, and therefore something wasn't as gal. The Pusik, by Yomahi, Yigdal is a pusik in the Nuvi Zachariah. It says, "V'yemihi u'slovay Mashiach will come." The Gemara in Sikkis has a shala. What is this pusik is referring to? Either this is referring to the time when Mashiach ben Yosef will be killed, or this is the time when the Yetzer Hara will sort of be removed, shechted. So Bayemi at that point in time, Yigdal HaMispad B'Yishlayim, the Mispad, the Hesped Yishlayim, Mispad will be as great the Hesped Yishlayim as Hadar Dimon B'Bikas Megidon. It'll be as great as the Hesped or Hadar Dimon B'Bikas Megidon. From Rabbi Yosef, Ilmudata Gimel the Haikruf, not for the Targum as Pusik, we have no idea what it means. But my come, what does this mean over here? Mispad Hadar Dimon B'Bikas Megidon. What does it mean? It'll be as great as the Hesped of Hadar Dimon B'Bikas Megidon. What does it mean? These words. What's shot over here? The Targum says, "B'Yom Mehi." Yizge mispuda that day the mispad will reach to be great. B'Yishlayim ke mispuda the Acher bar Amri the Kutel Yisai Hadridimon bar Tevimon berumas Gilad. There's basically the Pusik is referring to two separate things over here. Number one, Achav, which was not a very good king, but the master seemingly he was quite well loved. And when the Psikim says when he died, he had a very great hesped, a tremendous hesped, a tremendous amount of people over there. So we're comparing the hesped of the Usad Luvoi, when Mashiach will come, Mashiach ben Yosef will be killed, or the Yetzer Hara will be killed, that there'll be the hesped will be as great. Why is the hesped for Yetzer Hara? It's not our sig, believe it's Sukkah. Let's go in the Mahalach of Mashiach ben Yosef, which is easy to understand, that the hesped will be as great as the hesped of Achab, who was killed by Hadar Drimoin ben Tavrimoin. And then what the second part of the Pusik is referring to, the Shuyi bar Umar, which was a Beirach Toiv, the Kutli said Paroi Chagir Bebikas Megiddo, which Paroi killed him Bebikas Megiddo. So one is referring to a person who was killed by Hadad Rimoin, and one is referring to a place which was killed in Bikas Megiddo. Then these were two Haspaidim. And actually, there's a shtickle shaychet in the two. Mashiach ben Yosef was killed. I'm sorry, when Achab was killed, a lot of people were very sad. But there were some people who were happy. Achab was not a good king. And so too, when Yeshua was killed, it was pink for kid. The good people were very sad, but some people were very happy. He was too just in their eyes. Mashiach ben Yosef, there'll be many people which are very sad Mashiach ben Yosef dies, but there'll be many goyim who will be very happy when he dies. So therefore, there's a very similarity that the hesped will be very similar. Both will have a spade, and will be part of people with tremendous rejoice, and the people which will be very sad about it. And this is the Metagnas from Galatas. Now, Bemis is the Sherma Masba, you see from this over here that when it says day to shul, because in Megala Sissa Torah doesn't necessarily mean the way we understood it to mean is Megala secrets of the Torah, because it's not a secret. This is just if they're attached. This is not something which is a major secret. Rather, the kidda is that up until that point in time, someone to learn Nuvi had to be Misiageya, had to sort of toil in it to do the words properly. And by having Targum, it sort of made it too easy. So it's a shul shuk because it shouldn't be so easy to learn. We know that every generation need more and more help to sort of learn Torah, but this was a step down. As soon as you have Targum, it was a step down. An example is this Pusik, where this Pusik is very hard to understand. Up until Rav Yossi, I'm sure they understood it, but at that point in time, people couldn't understand this Pusik anymore until we had Targum, which sort of explained it's two separate concepts over here, and therefore that is why. Yeah, so they're still to Yetzer Hara as well. Yeah. The Gemara says over there that when Mashiach will come, that the tzaddikim will see that the Yatzar, they thought it was as big as a mountain, and the Shum will see it was so small they couldn't really overcome it. So there's similar concept over there that both will see that, like, they rejoice and be sad at the same time. So there's such a similar concept as well. What was that? Yeah. So there's lots of tishtal between these two sigis, how they want to sort of stem it together. There's lots of Chaim, we're very busy with this over here. Let's just go weiter. Agav, the Mur brings over here, Sefer Daniel brings the Mur over here, Sefer Daniel, that Daniel had a vision of what's going to come upon Lucid Levoy. It says, V'risei Daniel Levadi, I myself saw a Samara, the vision, V'hanusha Mashoyim Imi Lo Yuri Samara, did not see it. But then there was still a great fright fell upon them, even though they didn't see it, but they felt something and they became a great fright upon them. Meaning, who are these Anushim? Who are these people? So actually were greater in the level of Nevi'ah than Daniel. He was still better, he was still greater than them at a certain level. Ini Difmanai, the Ini Nevi'ah, they were Nevi'ah. And Rashi's Masber, Rashi says an important kid over here that Daniel was a Novi as well. He also had Nevi'as. So to understand the Rashi's Masber over here, and this is a concept which we see other Gemuras as well, that the Gemara says at one point that there was a Mitzvah Yetzem Mitzrayim, there was a Nevi'im. There were hundreds of thousands of Nevi'im. There were many more than the 48 Nevi'im. But there were 48 Nevi'im. They were Nevi'im which were sort of given Nevi'as for the Klal Yisrael as a whole. How things are going to continue. There were many local Nevi'im. You would go to, like the Pusik brings that Shaul HaMelech, when his father lost his donkeys, he went to Ahara, he went to look for the Nuvi to ask him where the donkeys are. People went to the Nuvi like people go to any Rebbe or Shashiva today. That was the way people went over there. Daniel was a Nevi like that. His Nevi wasn't the Nevi for the Tzorich, was sent to Klal Yisrael to sort of give Nevi'as over here. They were Nevi'im for Klal Yisrael. He wasn't. However, he was still greater than them, because he was able to see things which they couldn't see. They couldn't see it. They couldn't see it. My time maybe, so why were they frightened? So they didn't see it. They're mazel. Sometimes a person is a mazel sees it. Something off. What's pshat? So the Gemara, Maravinit, Shmamin of Mississippi. How about the mitzvah? Someone which is a frightened. Even doesn't see anything. Mazel his mazel sees something, and therefore that is why he's mafachet. So it says, why am I afraid? I don't know, but there's something behind it which is afraid of. My takanta, what's takuna? Likir kiyashma, she would kiyashma. The ikum b'mukim tenefes is in a mukim tenefes, which you cannot say mukim kedisha. He's not on a pure place, which you can't say kishma. Lincher medichta, he should move from his place. But gerimida for amas, we can say kishma over there. We learn if you can't, let's say nowhere around this for the next 5 miles. He's a mukim tenefes. Layim mahochish say following the izid by tavchish meinim and the goats and the butchers are fat. It means it says parmazik. The Mezikim say, just go find someone else. There are better people out there which you can find instead of me. This is there's a cipher called from Pechas Katzenellenbergen. He wrote a diary. He was lived about 300 years ago. A few years ago, like 20 years ago, they published a diary they found at Oxford. It's not a diary. It was a roof in Ashkenaz. He was Moravia, early 1700s. So he writes about all sorts of fascinating things, just about what he ate for lunch. Like, it's really just about his day-to-day life. So he writes over there that his father told him the following story, that his father said that he had his father's father-in-law, that his grandfather used to be very into his dreams. He was always obsessive with his dreams. Every morning he would wake up and say, I had a dream. He would go to be made to Cholim, he would go to the Bezdin to try to decipher his dream. But he writes his own father, Moshe Katzenellenberg, didn't care much for his dreams. He writes at one time, his father had a very vivid dream. It was very like a frightening dream. He realized this is not a normal dream. So his father said to the Baal HaCholemes, like, why are you coming to me with the dreams? I don't care much for your dreams. He says, take it to my father-in-law. He loves these stuff. This is for him. He woke up next morning and he forgot about it. In the middle of the day, his father-in-law comes running to me. You have to help me. I had this terrible, frightening dream last night. He tells me, father-in-law, I'll tell you what your dream was. It started like this. It went like this. He says, how do you know? He says, it started with me. And I said to the Baal HaCholemes, take it. There are better goats out there. Go after other people. He doesn't go after me over here. And he brings us a proof over there that Cholemes don't mean anything, because you see, I don't know what the proof is, but okay, you see how Cholemes can sort of go from one person to another person. But you see over here, the concept, sometimes if you tell them, listen, there's better kambunas out there, there's a better, finer goats out there than me, leave me alone and leave me be. That is a nachash to say to a mazik. Yeah, it's a way of overcoming it as well. Yeah, if you look at that sort of way psychological level, I'm sure you can look at that way as well. Yeah. Yeah, possibly. Yeah, it's not clear exactly over here what exactly the kid over here. Sometimes you find many more Shabbos things. Sometimes there's a lachash, something you say. Sometimes it means nothing. Actually says actually means nothing. B'chal. Just a lachash, like something you say and it helps. Let's go more about it. Now going back to Megillah. So we said over here, Medina, Ve'ir. We said over that each of the psikim can't do dash or something. Even though it's a meshpocha, it says meshpocha. What does that come to dash over here? R Yossi Roth, Lehovi meshpochas kehena ve'levia shmevatlan avadusan ebun ishmaim Megillah. They have to mevatel kahanim leviin, and everybody has to mevatel avodas fasmidish come here Megillah. Domar Avido Marav, Kahana Bevadusan, Velim Levium, Bedechunan, Visuba Mamudan, because we used to have every single, from the Yidden, which used to be representative of Klal Yisrael, we used to stand B'Shas, Mas Ashes, Mas B'Barichas over here, we used to stand by the avodah of the Karbunis. So everybody has to move out from their jobs and sort of come to Yemek Megillah, Kirim Avatan, Avadusan, Nebun, Shmai, Yemek Megillah. So the Kasha, the Chayim ask over here, why do we daven before Kriyas Megillah? Ma'adach, they would move out the avodah for Kriyas Megillah. Tefillah, which is instead of avodah, we should sort of hear Kriyas Megillah first. First thing in the morning, come to shul, hear Kriyas Megillah. It's more important. Here, when it says Mavatal Avodah, what does it mean over here? That means the beginning, the first day thing in the Beis Hamikdash, instead of going to the Beis Hamikdash, I would first go to shul to hear Kriyas Megillah. So it was why do we do the opposite? Why do we first daven and then do Kriyas Megillah? We should do exactly like they did as well. This is a kasha which Chayim asks. The Chayim asks that the Chiyuv Krishma is already from the Alas. The Kriyas Megillah is only from Netz. So Ba'etzem, the chiv of telling you to read Krishma is very before the next. Just what? When we read Krishma, we're supposed to be Masmach, Gilul, Tefillah, you're supposed to do Krishma together with davening. So in order for us to do that, we have to first daven. But with davening and doing Krishma, in order to do a chivas first. Yeah, we don't daven by last year. I mean, there's some places that are makbet to daven, Purim Bashkum to the first thing in the morning. But Ba'etzem, once Chazal were kavas, is that davening Ba'etzem comes before Krishma because Krishma comes before Krishma Megillah, because before in time. Because Manamigdash was Kabunis, which was only from Netz, and that was only afterwards. Tanan Moche, Kahana Bevadusan, Velevim, Bedechuna, Visuba Mamudan, Kirim Mavatal Bevadusan, Bunish Megillah. Mekan, Samchi, Shabbos Rebbe, Shmavatal Talmud Torah, Bunish Megillah, the Mavatal Talmud Torah, Megillah. Avachem Avodah. Ma Avodah Shichim Malach Avodah, which is Chumah. Mevatlin, Talmud Torah for that. Mevatlin, Kriyas Megillah, Talmud Torah, Kolsh, not Zicha Talmud Torah, which is greater than Avodah Zicha, Mevatlit for Kriyas Megillah. There's a very fundamental question which all the Chayim asks kasha. They're saying over here that you mevatel Talmud Torah for Kriyas Megillah. Isn't Kriyas Megillah Torah? What is that? So you're saying one halakha Chayim say is that b'shas masa right now, I'm reading Megillah, I'm being mechavan to Mekayim to Megillah. I cannot be Mekayim by that point in time the mitzvah of Limud Torah. This is a massive discussion of Chayim. Then big nafkim will be lemushal if you can be Mekayim mitzvahs b'chzat Torah b'havar rabba before Shema, which is the shal. If a person did b'chzat Torah, we have a certain whichever would say before Krishma, which there, R Yossi discusses that you can be yetzim b'chzat Torah with that. But it's brought down, you have to immediately after davening learn something, because otherwise you have to have right afterwards. The question is, you had Kriya Shema, you learned. Some Hashanim say no, because Kriya Shema, I was being mechaven b'shas masa for tefillah, and if I'm being mechaven, I can either daven or I can learn. I can't daven and learn at the same time. And so therefore, well, some people could, but yeah. But you can't learn and daven at the same time. So therefore, if I'm mechaven for Kriyas Megillah, and therefore I'm only Kriyas Megillah, not the that's what my halach and Chayim want to say. Learning. Yeah, because that the Chiv Kriyas Torah is the learning. That's exactly why the Mesakin Kriyas Torah. So yeah, but the Chiv Kriyas Megillah is not. The Kriyas Megillah is persimanicity mefarsin the nes. So I'm being mechavet mefarsin the nes, and I'm being mechavet to learn. That is what some Chayim want to go with over there. But Kriyas Torah, the Chiv is to learn. That's exactly what the Chiv is. That's also a discussion if you can Kriyas Torah limit with that or not. Another mahalach I want to say is that you're right, but till you go to shul, till you leave shul, there's little Torah. So who says? I mean, right now I'm in shul learning right now. I can learn for an hour. If I go here Megillah, I'm gonna wait 15 minutes to go learn, wait 15 minutes way back. So maybe I should stay learning over here. There's a massive chiddush in B'Shem Ephraim. Ephraim Zamagudius, massive chiddush. He says you're right. It's called learning. But it's machabash chiddush. If you are middle learning Gemara right now and you're mevatel to stop learning Gemara to learn Chimish, little Torah. Little Torah is not just in on Bevatel Torah, it's also on the Eichas, on the quality. And this is since Torah Shal Peh is a greater level of learning than Torah Shebeksav. If a person is Bevatel learning Yigiyas Torah, a minus Torah, and sort of kind of take something easy to learn right now, by making it easy to learn, or sort of to, like, I don't want to use the word downgrading Chazashon for Torah Shebeksav, but sort of going from Torah Shal Peh to Torah Shebeksav, it's called Bittul Torah. But since they were learning in Bayis Rebbe, they were learning Mishnah, they were learning over here property, Torah Shal Peh, how to be Dorish, Milsa, and they went to learn Kis Megillah, which is sort of like more like Torah Shebeksav. That's called Bittul Torah. Bittul Torah is to go, and it brings them in there. You have a Rebbe which is teaching over something and they want to change subject to learn Chumash. Bittul Torah to do that. You can't not. Obviously, you have to learn Chumash as well. There's a time and place for everything. But me to say that I want to learn something else right now. If you could learn good morning, you learn Chumash instead. Builds Bittul Torah. Massive chiddush to say that, but yeah, if it's a chiddush to say that it's called Bittul Torah to learn in quality. To go in quality. I'm learning. What's the Bittul Torah? But yeah, he says it's Bittul Torah to go, changes. There's many other mahachim as well, but that is some of the basic mahachim over here. So you're saying that avoida is mochum et hamatorah. But we see in Shetn Pusing the Kivish Yicha by Yeshua, the Yibi Yossi Shiba Yicha, the Yisa Aina, the Yavi Hina Ish Aimelendia. So Ish was a malach over there. The Shtakel up and he bowed before him. So the Gemara argues asked right away, how did he bow before him? A person sees the person, obviously this is referring to in a place of Nanamokim Yeshiv, Shem Mazbe, it's talking about a place which is in the fields. So here, and this wasn't the fields, they were laying siege to a town. So therefore you can't, let's say, Shum Tachav, because maybe this is a shed, and you're being Moitze Shem Shemayim Batula to a shed. You're not allowed to. Zikh not to bow before him, Zikh not. So when Shana Husim, the Omalai, Ki Ani Sar Tzuva Hashem, but he said the name of Hashem. Think with Dilma Meshaka, maybe he's lying. So no, give me we have a Messiah, the Loy Mapke Hashem Shemaim Levatula. Even a shade would not say Hashem Shemaim Levatula. Would not say they could take Hashem's name in vain. So therefore, if he knew it was a malach, he was allowed to bow before him. And why is not to bow before a malach? Because since he came in the appearance of a man, he's allowed to bow before him. So what? Master, back to the situation of here. Omalei Emesh yesterday, because you see that you did not. The whole master over there, the late siege the town, they didn't bring the arm back in time, so they couldn't make the kabunas over there. But now, she says back to him, on which are you coming? After we said coming in the very right now, say if not learning Torah. It's miyad right away. The yolon yeshi, it's not right away. It means the following siege. The yolon yeshi balayla hi b'toicha emek. Tosis says over here that it's not the same mamash, the same post. Tosis says that it's not bottom Tosis. But derech hashas yelekatza psukim la'av miyachat k'mavanos nakes v'komlet. Sometimes the Torah brings the Chazal brings psikim as if it's one pasuk. It's not one pasuk. This is a separate pasuk completely. But sometimes the Chazal will makatza psikim made it like as one pasuk. This is referring to a later story. At some point later, when next time they teach the town of Ai, Yevulun Yeshi B'Layla Hi B'Toicha Emek Meviyechin Melamed Shalom Be'imka Shalocha that he was done and went to learn. So you see over here that the Malach came for the Vayra of Bittul Torah more than for the Vayra of Avoid. You see where the Bittul Torah is greater. From this over here, it's greater than Kavuras Tovit. If it's Rabim, that's like greater than a Kavuras Tovit. If it's Yochid, it's not greater. And before we said about the Talmud Torah, is referring to Talmud Torah the Yochid. Talmud Torah the Rabim is not considered to be is taka greater, and therefore that he wouldn't be Vatla Kriyas Megillah. The question I'm asking is that before we said. So by Rebbe in the house of Rebbe, the Mavatal Talmud Torah, that was Rabbi, the yeshiva of Rebbe. No, it doesn't just be one person. So here we're saying right now that Yuchad Yelat Mavatal, not a Rabbi. That was a Rabbi. So here we see that the definition of Rabbi doesn't always mean Rabbi like a shul. Here Rabbi means the ganz Klal shul. And the Shem Amazbe and the Chonim Amazbe, this Nekida that Yeshua, he was transmitting the Torah onto the next generation. So everything he taught was on a Rabbi, was on a macro level. Because it was the Messiah of the Torah, and that was a much greater level than just the Yuchad learning. The Yuchad Kal, Taka Yuchad more Kal from Megillah and Avodah. But now we learned Nushim b'moyed ma'anis. The Chalamoid, when it comes to Ne'avelis, the allowed to be ma'anis. Ma'anis is when they all raise their voice together and cry. Avalim b'tapches and all twos, bang their hands against their chests, which are different ways of expressing pain. If they were close to the mitzvah, because cover the mess. Rosh Chodesh Rosh Chodesh Chanukah Purim. Ma'ana is metapik not to both. Ma'ana is metapik. Bezeh. However, Einan Mekonis is not Mekonis. Mekonis when one person sort of cries out and they all follow and lead over there. It's different than it's a greater level of avedus. If it's Talmud Chacham, you have to do everything. Talmud Chacham, you have to Mekonin, everything over here. Chalamoid like it's in the weekdays. Kalshke Chanukah Purim is Chanukah Purim. So you see over here that for Talmud Chacham, although usually Chanukah Purim, you have to be Mekonin Chanukah Purim, but for Talmud Chacham, for him, you have to be Mekonin. You see over here that the Talmud Chacham is greater than Chanukah Purim. You're saying if I have to Mevatel Megillah, I have to Mevatel Torah from Kriyas Megillah. And here we're seeing that Talmud Torah is greater than Kriyas Megillah. So think about what's the shaykhus. Go with Torah comers, go with Torah Yochad, go with Taka. Go with the Torah from one individual is greater. That's Taka we would do that. And by the way, I don't just mean over here, it means that even if the matri, you're allowed to go to a levaya, so to speak, even if it's going to push off the Kriyas Megillah. It's not just over here that you're allowed to, the Simchas Yom Tov. It means to say that the Kuvat Talmud Torah overweighs the Kriyas Megillah. Mashiach Talmud Torah, learning Torah, the Yochred Kala is Yochred Kala, different Kriyas Megillah comes before learning Torah of individual. Moreover, Pshitli, this is partial to me, avoid the Mikra Megillah. If it's avoid the Mikra Megillah, oh, the Mikra Megillah is better. With the R Yossi Roth, like we saw before over there, that he says Meshpocha, that it Kahanim Mevatel avoid the Kriyas Megillah. Talmud Torah Mikra Megillah, if you have Talmud Torah Kriyas Megillah, Mikra Megillah Udef, with the Samach Shabbat Sebi, like by Sebi is Mevatel the learning to go learn Megillah. So here Megillah. Talmud Torah Mes Mitzvah Udef, by Talmud Torah Braisa, Mevatel Talmud Torah to Mes Yilat Mevatel Torah for to Mes, Lachnus is Kalef. And Agav, he says over here that Mes Mitzvah, it doesn't mean Dafka Mes Mitzvah. That's the fashion of Braisa. Mevatel Talmud Torah, Latus Mes, you have to Mevatel Torah for even a normal mess, you have to Mevatel Talmud Torah. And here is a kasha which the Shmazam is very busy with. It says that that's true every single time they read that. You're shot over here. Every shul should close down, go outside to the Levaya. And every time there's a Levaya, everybody there should be nobody in shul. How come we are not Mekayim, Mevatel Talmud Torah, that's a mess? Or even a chuppah. You heard the chuppah right now right over here in this shul. Everybody has to leave or go right down to the chasna. So Shmazama says that the Yatzus Hames doesn't mean the Haspeidim, doesn't mean the actual Hatzuas Hames, the actual Levaya. And since we don't know exactly when it will be, nobody knows exactly what time it will be. 3 o'clock, it could be 4 o'clock. There's no time for that. I'm not mechiv to go sort of check on that. If you're sitting in a shul, as a levaya passing outside, you must leave the shul and go outside. You have to close the door and go outside to the levaya, because that's the chalik of Mevatel Talmud Torah to semes. You're not allowed to. So if you're sitting like in a shul and on the outside of your street, there's a levaya passing by, you have to leave over there. There's no heter otherwise. Yeah, this is the thing, because this is part of the kuvod of the mess. Everybody, the more people go, the greater the kuvod of the mess is. He brings with a massive there, where it's brought down that he sent his Talmud to ask Moshe Feinstein some 2 very difficult questions. One was a question about Shala, Sila Kul, someone that didn't know they're married, not married. Some moms are Shala, but very difficult Shala. And one was this question: what's the heter for yeshivas not to stop yeshiva and go to Levi? The first question said Moshe answered right away, and the second question he says very schwach, I can't come up with a teretz. He said this was something which he didn't know. It's just very sure after minigoy the more they're not so makbid on the salochem. Avoid mes mitzvah. What if it's avoid the mes mitzvah? Mes mitzvah is more important. Malachos in the puskel achos talit abraisa. Vidashin with their news is not even betam with any of his krovim. It says we lachos vidashin over there. It says we not to his father, to his mother, to his brother, to his sister. So each of these words vidashin for something else. Each of it seems a chiddush over there. Lachos, what do we dash from lachos? It's a more setos news. This is a few ways to learn the Gemara over there. We're going to go through Ash's Malach over here. That someone, a regular person, not a nuzeh, was going to Shecht for Korban Pesach or Timal son. And he heard on the way that one of his Shiva Krovim died. And if he goes to the Levaya for that Shiva Krovim, he won't be able to Shecht the Korban Pesach or Timal son. He'll be Tumah, he'll miss the time. Yuchel Yitama, he should go be Metama. Almost later, no, he shouldn't be Metama because he's like a news at this point. He's like a news that should not be Metama, Bidash and Psikim. They have a mitzvah right now, they should not be Mevatel. The mitzvah should not go be Metama. Yochel Kashem, Shaina Metama, like he's not Metama for his craving for his sister. Kachen and Metama, if it's so too, should not be Metama for a mess mitzvah. Tamalayim, Elachoisoi. Lachoisoi, then Metama, like by news, we dash over there by news that Lachoisoi is not Metama for a Choisoi. Of Metamel Mes Mitzvah, he's not Metamel Mes Mitzvah, so too as well. Someone's going to Shafta Korban Pesach, he's not allowed to be Metamel for a sister, but he's allowed to be Metamel for a Mes Mitzvah. You see over here that Korban Pesach, which is avoided. And Mes Mitzvah comes before Korban Pesach. But there's a shot like this. Mikra Megillah Mes Mitzvah, Haimanai Odef, which is greater, Mikra Megillah or Mes Mitzvah. Mikra Megillah, the Odef Hashem Pesimanis, which is a great mala. Although Mes Mitzvah, Mishim Kovad Abrias, because Kovad Abrias, Busa de Boyo, the Pashta, after Yarashali, you bring a Borayim. Mes Mitzvah, Udef, Mes Mitzvah is greater. Because because you find elsewhere, Gudel, Kovad Abrias, Shadoich, Letzich, B'toyre, Kovad Abrias, Doich, B'toyre. Where's the example for that? Rashi's example is that it says if a person is not to miss alam for an Aveda, you're not allowed to, you see an Aveda, you have to get it. But if you're Zukim, the older person, it doesn't pass for you, whatever reason, you're not Machiv. So you see, Kovad Abrias is greater than the Issa, the Leisas. So Kovad Abrias is Doich, Letzich, B'toyre. So if you have Mikra Megillah and Mes Mitzvah overrides Mikra Megillah. Nozer is to be metame is a lesis and s, I believe both. And by Mes Mitzvah, he has to be metame himself. Yeah, it doesn't it's not no, because there it's not Kovid Abrias. Kovid Abrias. Why is not an example from that? Why is not an example from Kovid and Mes Mitzvah? I don't know why it's not an example. Here, I don't know why that stuff cannot over the why Rashi makes this example. Here. We saw before a village which has a chayim and anything which is next to it and it is seen by it has the same dinner like the city with a wall, and therefore it reads Megillah on the 15th. Tuna. Sumach means even if it's near, it cannot be seen. Near and also if it can be seen, even though it's not near. Near the sitting on top of a mountain, and therefore it can be seen, even though it's not near. Yeah, on top of the mountain, it can be very far, but it's seen, and therefore that still has a din of reading the 15th. How's it possible for to be seen, to be near, not to be seen? It's the exact opposite. Sitting in the valley, so it's deep in the valley, so there it's very close. Sometimes I don't know. I'm not sure why top of the mountain is very high and the valley is very very close. But let's say below a cliff or something, which is very close, but it cannot be seen. A Kach, which was a city which at first was lived in, and only afterwards is surrounded by a wall. That has din of a kfar. The definition of a town which is mukav chayme means first they built the wall and then they inhabited the town. But if first they inhabited the town and they built the wall, that is not called a wall. And this is very much the guy by the dinim of a shul. They have many dinim of cities which are enclosed with the walls. Like if you sell a house over there, how long you can be able to redeem it. There's various halachos which are much more the guy in the shul. The guy is halachos, but it's also the guy from Megillah as well. My Tama is the reason. Is a pusik gab bute yerchayme. The ish kiyimke bayis Moshe yerchayme. So Moshe means it's a bayis which is Moshe first inhabited and then it's yerchayme. Shehokaf at the besaf. I'm sorry, no. Moshe means that it was inhabited in yerchayme. You inhabited the yerchayme. Shehokaf besav yushav la yushav shavik not vaket. This figure, every time I learn, it always bothers me. I haven't found a teretz because in Hilchos Erevin is the exact opposite. In an Erev, you have a din that has to be hooked up for the soft yushav. I mean to say, if I have a enclosement, this is where the guy in parks. If you have an area or something, if you have a park, so can I carry in the park? It has walls, four sides. You're not allowed to carry in the park. Why? Because there's no house over there. There's a house afterwards. No, it has to be that first there was a house and then the wall surrounding it. Yeah. Let's say I have this is very mushal. I know that in the Princess Park. So there, people wanted to carry people don't rely on the airport, yeah? So they wanted to carry in the park over there. What did they do? You can't carry there because there's no house over there. So someone went and took off the fence of his backyard, which is facing the Princess Park. And then by putting it back in with a door over there, now he sort of was because now his house was open to the whole park. And now he surrounded it, he finished the wall. But if it's the exact opposite, yeah? So in the Hilchos Erevin, we say the definition of an enclosure has to first be that first it's inhabited and then you enclose it. In order for the enclosure to be a good enclosure for Hilchos Erevin, you should be able to carry the enclosure. You have to first have a house there and enclose it. You want to build a city and then you're surrounded by a wall, you can carry that city. But if you build first the wall, then you put people in the city, you can't carry that. You have to sort of break down the wall and rebuild it. And here we see the exact opposite. I'm not sure why. it should be the exact same thing. The definition of what, I don't know what we learned from here. This question always bothers me. Let's just see one more shtickle. We'll finish with this over here. Which doesn't have 10 people, which are, they are not, we don't work. They are batlunim. Because the definition of a larger city is when it has 10 people which are unemployed. That's the definition of a larger city. We learned it in the following Mishnah. What's the village? Because sometimes you can have, let's say, a market town where there's people coming the whole time, and there's people coming, and these people are not doing even anything. They're just sitting around doing nothing, sitting around with some lighter guys. That's not called a krach. It has to be people which are living over there, and those people living over there, they're the ones which are being batlonim. Only such a case over here do we have of a case of that being a krach and not vaket. A krach which was destroyed and then re-inhabited. That is a krach. What's chorbin over here? That his walls were destroyed. Is Yoshev, and only if it was rebuilt, that it was rebuilt the walls, and Lo Yoshev wasn't rebuilt. Lo, Vutani, we learned to blaze him, Yossi Omer, Asher Lo Yochayim, this is again, but they did it, Boti Yochayim at Shul. This is by, even by Megillah as well. Nobody's checking if the walls of Yerushalayim are intact or not. If there was a wall at the times of Yeshim and then, doesn't have to be rebuilt. Once we know that, we spoke the other day, we said that any town which had a wall in that time was considered to be Elam Megillah on the 15th. So you have to be a big town, which this town is not a kfar. If you can be magdim, if you can make it the Yom HaKnisa to read Megillah on a Monday and Thursday. So only a town which is a kfar can go like that. But if it's a krach, if it's a city, which even without a wall cannot go, can only read on the 14th. So if, let's say, and it got back, now they helped them come back, in such a case, it's considered to be a krach. What's the chiddush? Chiddush is that we don't, since you don't say, we lost one time 10 people, maybe tomorrow again 10 people will be lost. No, the ones that came back, it solidifies the din. It's considered to be a krach, and therefore it has the din, the gab of the nafka minas, which we saw in the first Mishnah. So.